Yo, today we got another video. This video we're gonna be reacting to Low talking about the 76ers are being awful. Now this was recorded when Philly was 2-11. As of right now, they're 3-13. But they're still in the same predicament, obviously. Nothing has really changed from this video to where I'm at now. But I'm gonna go and get started. By the way, I'm already 50 seconds in, but he hasn't said anything important. That's it. Go back. Back.
Offense in the NBA, a mediocre defense, and a record of 2-11, which is tied for the worst in the league. And news just broke yesterday from Shams. Due to the excessive amount of losing, there was a team meeting being held where not Paul George, not Kyle Lowry, not any other veteran, but Tyrese Maxey, the 24-year-old budding star, had to stand up to the plate, be the vocal leader, and do something that many people allegedly have not done over the course of the last 8 to 10 years, and that is hold Joel Embiid accountable. Crazy. And somehow, this is not even all the problems. But before we get into everything else, what exactly happened in this team meeting? Well, according to Shams out in ESPN, Tyrese Maxey stood up to Joel Embiid in this team meeting and challenged him to be on time with team activities, which, in my opinion, is kind of obvious. It makes a lot of sense for Joel Embiid to be asked to participate even more with team activities, in particular practice, due to the lack of chemistry that is being built on the floor due to him not being available as often as he probably should be. And even for
Okay. My bad. I was letting Low talk. B did say something about like he doesn't really know what he's doing on the court, and if it's true that you're everything, which I'm assuming is true, then it's your fucking fault, my nigga. Like, bro, you're supposed to be the best player on your team. You're supposed to be setting the example for your team. If you are the best player, being lazy, being late to everything, always complaining and shit, then the other players are kind of gonna act the same way. Like maybe not the veterans, maybe not like a Kyle Lowry because obviously he's been in the league for so long. But like the whole team is not gonna want to be on their A game if you are being lazy as shit. I'm gonna be honest. And yeah, I feel like nobody really talked about it enough when this first came out. I'm glad Low is, but yeah, Tyrese Maxey being the one to call out Joel Embiid instead of like a Kyle Lowry, instead of like a Paul George, even though Paul George just got there. You know. Like, the fact that it was Maxey, that's weird to me, I'm gonna be honest.
Further down in the article, it articulates this lack of clarity with Embiid and the offense and his role and responsibility and where he's supposed to be positioned, which again makes sense if you are not fully participating in anything that's happening before the games even tip off, which may be a huge contributing factor on how bad Embiid looks early on. This has been an ongoing concern early on in the season by a lot of Philly fans with his new offense being spearheaded by Nick Nurse that is kind of deviating from what we've seen Philadelphia run over the past handful of seasons that doesn't necessarily involve Embiid as much as it did in prior years. Now, you could very well argue that this is done purposely to try to preserve Embiid for the marathon that is a regular season and another marathon that is the postseason. However, the confusion is very clear and on display anytime Embiid is playing on the floor, and I do believe that is a part of the reason to why.
I think it's on everybody. I've seen some people blaming Nick Nurse. I think Nick Nurse is one of the best coaches in the league. I can't say you can fully blame Nick Nurse. It's on everybody because if if the offensive scheme was really that bad, someone would have called out Nick Nurse. I'm gonna be honest, but let's be for real. It's not just Embiid playing bad because in the games Embiid has played, he has played pretty bad. Besides that one game where he dropped like 35, right? PG has been playing horrible. He's been averaging like Chris Middleton numbers with bad efficiency. Tyrese Maxey hasn't shot well from three, but if you look at the other stats, they've been fine. Kyle Lowry hasn't shot great from three. Kelly Oubre hasn't shot great from three. The other players they haven't shot great from three. I'm just naming the important players. Or besides Jared McCain. Obviously, Jared McCain has been the only bright spot in the 76ers team, but they're still 3-13, so it's not like Jared McCain has helped them to wins, But that's not his fault,
He hasn't looked great early on in the 3 games in which he has played.
Oh, I forgot about Caleb Moore. Caleb Moore hasn't been shooting well.
But in all honesty, I kind of feel like this article is being blown way out of proportion. I do believe that Embiid should take it a little bit more serious. He should be on time to these events, especially when, again, he's not playing that much with his new teammates. And this is an ongoing issue with the lack of maturity with Embiid being the leader of a franchise and making sure he understands that role and responsibility through and through. But there's so many issues with the Sixers that I would be doing you a disservice if I made an entire video talking about how Joel Embiid doesn't show up on time with practice. Again, very important. However, we got to at some point talk about Paul George here.
Giving.
You got to give.
Little short ad. I can skip.
Of us are aware was an offseason acquisition and possibly one of the biggest ones throughout the entire summer. Of course, there were some concerns about his age and the amount of money he was asking for, which effectively was max for a 34-year-old that was clearly regressing. But due to the injury status and the availability of so many other players, it seemed as if like PG was the best route to go. However, that hasn't really panned out at all early on. PG, very similar to Embiid, before the regular season even began, Philly was already talking about putting him on a minute restriction, missing back-to-back games, and all of that compounded.
I feel like people don't realize that PG literally hyperextended his knee in the preseason. I feel like people are just thinking, oh, here we go, the 76ers resting players again. He hyperextended his knee. That's the reason he was out. But I don't know if that's the reason he was playing bad or he is playing bad. Is he playing? I forgot. What's the injury status on Paul George?
Got much worse when he dealt with a bone bruise before the year even began, which has kept
Wait. Oh, they said that before he got hurt? I did not know that.
For half of the season early on. However, when he is playing, it's a yikes. The newly acquired $212 million man is averaging 16.
Yeah, this is ass. Bro, I don't know how Paul George and Tyrese Halliburton are playing so ass, bro. Halliburton, you were just playing in the Olympics and the Eastern Conference Finals and played better than what you're doing right now. That makes no sense. And Paul George, you've been in the league how long? Like, I don't know how you start off the season this bad. It does not make sense. You're averaging 3.5 turnovers. You've never done that in your career, I don't think.
To 17 points, 5 assists, 5 rebounds, 2 steals, but shooting splits of sub 40% from the field, 29% from behind the arc, and 81% from the free throw line. And in particular, probably the biggest issue with Paul George is his turnovers, logging in 3 a game, and his inability to create consistent opportunity not only for himself but for his teammates, which is something that they had to rely on even more due to Joel Embiid's absence early on. And in all honesty, they should be able to rely on it because they paid him max money. Paul George, in my opinion, has no room for excuses because you sat there all offseason long, tried to leverage yourself with several different teams for a max contract that, quite frankly, you did not deserve. I get it. I understand it. Get your money. I'm never going to knock. But at the end of the day, bro, that money comes with expectations. And at this point, bro, you looking worse than Tobias Harris. Philly fans have been complaining about him for years.
Yeah. Someone did the side by side. Tobias Harris stats, Paul George stats. Tobias Harris stats are better. Yeah.
Robbing that organization, taking the money just willingly and not.
See, I need to shut up because I did not know he's about to show the stats.
Living up to expectations or at least growing in some capacity over the past 3 to 4 years while he was under.
By the way, that bottom part's not true. Oh, wait. Yeah, that bottom part's still not true. 24. So, like, last season? Maybe that's last
contract with the team, just for them to then effectively just got a 34-year-old version of the exact same thing. And in all honesty, it looks even worse, especially when you compare the numbers and the productivity and contrast on how much money that these two players have been making on this team. It's disgusting. Now, to be fair to PG, you could easily just chalk this up to a very slow start to the season. Came in not 100% healthy, trying to go out there and rush it, force it. You know, that makes sense. But I don't know, bro. When you're on a team where it's very top heavy, the team has emptied out their salary throughout the offseason to make sure that they can get someone like you, and you're sitting here running around talking about how you believe you're worth max money, and anybody dare challenging it, you sit here and say they're not treating you fairly. Oh my God, they're just doing me wrong. Well, you're gonna have to perform, brother. And so even though, yes, I do understand that PG heading into the situation was more than likely at most going to be a second option on a night-to-night basis, but realistically speaking was going to be a third option, which is crazy because he still is looking for a max contract with third option responsibilities, and he's still not living up to it. And at this point, he's not even being that because he rookie and Jared McCain is outperforming him early on in the year. Now, again, I'm going to continue to be fair to PG because he's really and truly been asked to be even more than a third or even second option. There's been certain nights where he is expected to be the best player on the floor because of the absence of Joel Embiid and even Tyrese Maxey, who has missed a handful of games due to a hamstring injury.
Yeah, that's the other thing I was gonna say. PG came to Philly to be a third option, and since Maxey and Embiid have both been battling injuries, there's been certain games where he has to be the first option, which I'm gonna be honest, there's no championship team where PG can be a first or second option at this point in his career. Maybe in his prime, but not at this point in his career. Now I think about it, Paul George with the Pacers is not fair. They didn't really have a second option type player, bro. Like, he should have been left the Pacers. Like, Paul George really wasted his career, bro, because he went from the Pacers to OKC, which, even though him and Russ is a good duo, they didn't really have depth. They didn't have the depth to win the finals. And also, he probably did that at the worst time just because the Golden State Warriors. It's not like they would have beat the Warriors anyway. So, unless they got like a third star, I wouldn't have seen them beating the Warriors or something like that. Then he goes to the Clippers. Kawhi, obviously injury prone, and I'm not gonna call it PG injury prone, but he's not like prone to being healthy either. So I don't know. Pete, this is definitely the best situation PG's been in. It's just like Maxey and Embiid need to stay healthy, specifically Embiid, because it's not like Maxey has injury history, and he didn't even miss that many games.
So I understand that. But if you would have told me that Paul George would have looked this bad, that is crazy. And due to the injuries of Joel Embiid and Paul George and Tyrese Maxey, a team that has over-leveraged themselves financially to effectively try to build this big three has not yet been able to see this big three at all. And their lack of depth is just showing every single night and is by far the biggest reason why they have struggled this much early on. But even the best version of PG wouldn't be able to carry this team to an above 500 record, so they still would be underperforming due to the lack of availability from their three best players. And speaking,
Hey there.
Another ad. Nice.
commitment, we're talking about $135 million being given to just three players on the team. Be very mindful that the salary cap this year is $140 million. So basically all the wiggle room that they had is been given to three players, and these three players have not been available to play. And again, I just believe that is a much bigger reasoning to why we have a result of 2-11. However, even with all that being said, I honestly believe a much bigger problem with the Sixers right now goes back to Joel Embiid. And no, it's not about his tardiness in terms of practice and other team activities. That's a problem, but nowhere near the biggest. And that problem with Embiid has to be his availability and his health. A huge reason why many people like myself were very optimistic on what he was going to look like on minute restriction and missing back-to-backs is because we assumed that when he did play in the regular season that he was going to be fresh enough, look really, really great and dominant. And even though we were only going to get it for spurts in a handful of games, we assumed that we were going to get the best version of Embiid night in and night out when he did participate, and that would be enough to weather the storm in the Eastern Conference that is really, really weak. However, we haven't gotten that early on at all. Very small sample size, 3 games to be precise, but Embiid has looked really bad. Embiid is averaging 14 to 15 points a game, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, while shooting 32.
Yeah, Embiid has looked worse than PG, but I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna give him more of a pass than PG, right? Because Embiid the year before that, was the top 5 player. Embiid, before he got hurt last year, was the best player in the league, averaging 36 points. What the stats we see right here is not Embiid. I don't know what's wrong with him. There is something wrong with him. There's no way that Embiid goes from last year averaging 36 points per game, came back in the playoffs, still played pretty good, even though he had a little sickness and he was playing through injury. Embiid still played good in the playoffs last year until we got to the fourth quarter, obviously. Like what we're seeing right now, there's no way that's Embiid. Like I'm gonna be honest.
2% from the field, 15% from behind the arc, and turning the ball over 3 times a game while on a minute restriction. That's crazy. And in all honesty, the numbers really don't do it justice. You really have to watch Embiid to understand how bad it looks. He looks out of shape. He doesn't look healthy. He's not going out there playing with any level of force or a sense of urgency. His effort on the boards just isn't there. The fluidity of his movements offensively is non-existent. And defensively, if he's not camping in the paint, any type of defensive responsibility that is like 10 feet from the basket, it's non-existent. All in all, Embiid looks bad. And that is very concerning for a player that only played 39 games last year in the regular season, got knocked out in the first round, and even though he did go overseas to play Olympic basketball, since then his activity level, according to many sources, has not been that high at all. And if anything, the Sixers have been very conservative on what type of activities that he does participate in because they are trying to slowly ramp him up. But if this is the result of them being very conservative and light with any activity before he got to an NBA court, I am really concerned. The ongoing fear with Embiid that many Sixers fans don't want to admit, as well as a lot of executives probably in that front office as well, is that we all knew before he even entered the NBA that the window of opportunity to win a championship with him was very small. He started off his career missing 2 years after he was drafted by the Sixers, and in his rookie campaign only played 31 games, so effectively starting his career at the age of 23. And since then, he's constantly dealing with injuries, the inconsistency with his effort, and just all-around availability.
I think it's just Embiid's effort, attitude. I don't think him playing games is that big of an issue if you put the right pieces around him. Again, I think the Sixers team is the best team on paper that Embiid has ever had. You got PG. PG should be playing better. Again, if PG goes up to like 18, 19 points per game and gets the efficiency up, like he has to get 3-point percentage way up, but just efficiency up in general, that's straight. Tyrese Maxey's just gonna play like Tyrese Maxey at some point. I'm not worried about that. Jared McCain, he's probably gonna go to the bench at some point, but that's probably the role he should be in. Jared McCain as a 6-man, that's amazing. Caleb Martin starting, hopefully he shoots better. Embiid, hold on, my bad. And all of that around 30 point per game Embiid. Even if Embiid drops down to like 28 points, like that'll be fine. Like Joel Embiid is in the perfect position to like chill out as long as everybody's healthy and everybody's shooting well. But the Sixers in general just have not been a good team, bro. Like I don't see any of these players on the team playing like this in a month. And also they're in the weak East, so like I don't think they're gonna miss the playoffs or something. But if this season goes bad, the Sixers might blow it up after this season. I'm gonna be honest.
Has always been a concern. So it did beg the question, how long would the Embiid era last out in Philly? And it seems as if like we're starting to see some of the beginning stages of it coming to a conclusion. I don't want this to be the case, but this is reality. Embiid is 30 years old, will be 31 in a handful of months. The history of players who are 7 feet tall, older than 30 years of age, and has dealt with consistent injury problems all throughout their career, it isn't great, and it certainly doesn't get better as you age. Now, I'm not saying that who Embiid has been over these first 3 games is who he now is, like this is the new version of Embiid, but I also am saying that I wouldn't be surprised that that MVP caliber player that we saw 2 years ago, player who went out there and led the league in scoring with 33 a game, getting you double-digit rebounds and putting on some of the greatest scoring performances that we've seen this side of Shaquille O'Neal at the 5 position. I don't really know if that player is ever going to exist again, and I think it's very realistic to expect that out of him.
Why do you think we're never going to see that again? Let me hear exactly what you said.
Side of Shaquille O'Neal at the 5 position. I don't really know if that player is getting you double-digit rebounds and putting on some of the greatest scoring performances that we've seen this side of Shaquille O'Neal at the 5 position. I don't really know if that player is ever going to exist again, and I think it's very realistic to expect that out of Embiid moving forward.
I don't see why, bro. He was doing this last year at this time. There's no way Embiid has been hurt and just, I don't know what could have gone on with Embiid between this time last year, November 2023, from November 2024 for Embiid to never get to that point again. I feel like Embiid could easily still average 30 points. Easily. You gotta realize Embiid's a free throw merchant too. It's not like his game is crazy athletic. He uses his athleticism every play or something like that. It's not like a Jokic thing where like Jokic is huge. He just makes crazy shots. Embiid makes crazy shots too, but a lot of his points are from the free throw line. Embiid can still average 30 points in my opinion. I think he can still be a dominant player, just not as like on the MVP level. Not on the MVP level.
Outside of a handful of moments where he's getting really, really hot and he's feeling it. So the truth of the matter is, I feel like we're certainly more on a decline of Embiid rather than him plateauing at a peak that is reminiscent of all-time great centers. I don't really see how this doesn't get better. I mean, the man had a bunch of time before the season began to get prepared, didn't play any preseason, missed a bunch of games early on a minute restriction, and he still doesn't look like he's healthy at all. And for an organization that went all in on this idea of being able to build this team around Joel Embiid, I just don't see how anyone can convince themselves outside of Philadelphia 76ers fans that this is going to work out. It feels like all of this is...
I don't think it's going to work out. I say all that to say I don't think it's going to work out unless they trade PG. I don't think... I overrated PG. I thought PG would come in... Pause. I thought he would... yeah, I'm just going to use the term come in, but pause. I thought PG would just come with the 76ers and be how he was last year because PG had, I think, the most efficient season of his career last season, or like of his prime, you know. But he hasn't been that at all. And even though I think the people who are shooting bad are going to get better, I don't think they're going to get good enough for them to win the championship type better. So I'm kind of in between. They're kind of contenders. I feel like you can't sleep on them. Do not sleep on the Sixers. I'll tell you that right now. Because they can definitely beat a New York Knicks, in my opinion. They can definitely beat a Milwaukee Bucks, in my opinion. They definitely can't beat the Celtics. I'll say that. But I think there's some teams in the East that they can beat. I'm not saying they will, but they can beat.
Is temporary. All of this is just band-aids being put on a much larger issue. Paul George, $212 million. Tyrese Maxey and his upcoming. And whatever else we can construct around a roster, around a player that we can't even consistently rely upon. None of that makes any sense at all. And just in case any of you all are thinking, should they just throw the season away, completely tank, and try to get another draft pick and leverage that to go get someone else? Sure, they could do that, but they don't even have full control of their upcoming draft pick because if it falls outside of the top 6, then it goes to the Oklahoma City Thunder. So unless they completely
What the fuck? So you're telling me if Embiid or PG just happens to get hurt, happens to miss a bunch of the season, and then they go like 30 and something, there's a chance OKC gets their pick? Bro, OKC is crazy. OKC is literally crazy, bro. How the hell do they have the possibility to have the Clippers pick, their pick, and Philly's pick, bro? That's crazy. They may have an opportunity to get other picks too. That's crazy.
Body and embrace this idea of just throwing the year away. They're not even looking for a draft pick in the upcoming year. The team that they have now is what they're going to have moving forward, and due to the financial commitment that they made to their top 3 players, none of that is going to change at all.
I'm gonna be honest. Trade your pick. Trade y'all's pick. My bad.
So hey, they can't even do that. But to be optimistic for my Philly fans, I do have some good news for you. A, you play in the Eastern Conference that's so bad that even with a 2-11 start, if you go on a 5-game winning streak, you can put yourself right back into playoff conversations. That's how bad the Eastern Conference is. And B, Jared McCain looks like a real stud, like somebody who can have lasting impact pretty immediately and is easily an early candidate for Rookie of the Year. But outside of...
Yeah, Jared McCain's gonna win Rookie of the Year. At first, I wasn't sure. I'm like, okay, it's only been 5 games. Maybe he'll slow down. No, Jared McCain's winning Rookie of the Year. Thing is about Duncan, when we get healthy, he's probably not going to be starting. And after he's not starting, I don't think he's going to be getting close to 20. I think he'll finish the season averaging around 14 points, which, by the way, that's not bad. If he finishes the season averaging around 14 points, that's great. I just need him to make his streaks. That's all I need him to do. If he just starts missing threes during the season, I'm going to be pissed. But I'm going to end the video right there. Obviously, there's 30 seconds left, but there's not much he can really say in these 30 seconds. He's probably just talking about Jared McCain more. But yeah, I think the Sixers still gonna make the playoffs. Let me know what y'all think. Oh my god, hit the like button if you like the video. And I'm in the video.